Snark Squad. Babes, whenever you are listening to this, in your car, in your bed, avoiding work, living your best life, babes, we hope you are having an amazing fucking day.
And if your day is currently spiraling into a pit of existential dread, grab a beverage, because we are here to provide the distraction, the intense delusion, and the absolute unhinged energy you require to survive the modern world.
I mean, literally, the spiked limeade. It is flowing. The vibes in this room. Aggressively cute. But, babes, we need to address a glaring structural flaw in the universe before I literally explode.
I feel a weather rant coming on.
Yes. Because why is it late April, and I am currently sitting here listening to my heater kick on, like, where is spring? I am taking the atmospheric conditions incredibly personally right now.
Logically speaking, we are trapped in the meteorological purgatory formerly recognized as fake spring. It is a scientifically documented cycle of abuse.
It is emotional damage, like actual trauma.
It truly is. It lures you in with a single intoxicating 70-degree afternoon, actively convinces you to unbox your sundresses, and then emotionally devastates you with a 40-degree frost warning the very next morning. It's environmental gaslighting.
Exactly. Environmental gaslighting. I'm just being so confused right now. I am a walking contradiction. Yesterday, I left the house in a chunky knit, oversized turtleneck, but I paired it with open-toed, strappy sandals because, the weather app swore to me the sun was coming out.
Which is an aesthetic choice that fundamentally defies logic.
It did not come out. I had localized frostbite on my left pinky toe by noon, but I was aggressively sweating under my arms because of the wool. It's a biological nightmare. Winter is holding on like a toxic ex who keeps texting, like, you up at 2 in the morning, and I am exhausted.
It's the sheer logistical inefficiency of it that I find insulting. You are essentially forced into packing a survival bag just to commute. You're dressing for 2 completely different climate zones in a single 12-hour period.
Literally carrying 3 bags just to go to the grocery store.
Right. Layering was originally conceived as a sartorial choice, an aesthetic layering of textures. Now it is a desperate survival mechanism to prevent hypothermia while waiting for the train and heat stroke during your lunch break. I refuse to be bullied by a thermometer.
I am absolutely being bullied by the clouds. But we have to pivot. Because you were doom-scrolling TikTok this weekend, completely ignoring the weather. And babes, we need to talk about the consequences of your algorithm.
Oh, God, I know where this is going.
Because somehow we ended up doing something entirely out of character on Saturday. And it was pure, unadulterated chaos.
Okay, let me defend myself. It all started because the algorithm, which possesses a deeply invasive understanding of my psychological vulnerabilities, decided to serve me an endless, hypnotic loop of aesthetically pleasing soft girl-era weekend vlog content.
The soft girl propaganda gotcha.
It did. And before my higher brain functions could intervene and remind me that we fundamentally despise forced group activities, my thumb had already booked us a spot.
Saturday morning. Babes, we dragged ourselves to a DIY candle-making class. And honestly, it was visually stunning. I felt like I was physically living inside a curated Pinterest board.
The setup was, admittedly, highly effective at masking the grift.
The aesthetic was immaculate.
Yeah.
Little canvas aprons with leather straps, perfectly aligned rows of tiny amber glass bottles, hand-dried lavender just like scattered casually on the tables for absolutely no reason other than pure vibes.
It was giving, we just paid an exorbitant 200% markup to perform manual labor in a strip mall.
You are so cynical, I loved it. But babes, add a little bit of wine and spiked limeade into the mix, and suddenly we were profound artists. I felt it in my soul. I was deeply, fundamentally invested in creating a fragrance that perfectly captured the essence of my current emotional state.
Which was chaos.
It was not chaos. I was meticulously blending Italian bergamot, sea salt, a dash of jasmine. I was genuinely tearing up because the olfactory profile was so moving. I thought I was a perfumer. I was a genius.
Okay, you mixed so many conflicting, heavy bass notes that your final product ended up smelling remarkably like a high-end laundromat that had recently caught on fire.
Wow, okay. Shady.
I'm just being objective.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I found the entire process deeply sociopathic. I turned it into a silent, brutal competition. I started actively analyzing and judging everyone else's scent profiles.
You were so competitive for absolutely no reason. We were literally sitting next to a bachelorette party.
The girl sitting adjacent to us was aggressively dumping pure vanilla and heavy patchouli into her wax, and I had to physically restrain myself from leaning over and informing her that her living room was going to smell like a cursed metaphysical crystal shop. I was ranking the room with the severity of a Michelin star inspector.
You were ruthlessly tearing down these amateur wax artists.
Yeah.
But honestly, it made me realize something. Babes, we need a shout-out moment here. Pour one out for Bath & Body Works.
Ah, yes. The foundational pillar of modern American consumer perfumery.
Exactly. They raised us. You walked with your little plastic bottles so we could run into this expensive artisanal canvas apron candle class.
We truly must acknowledge the sociological impact of the semi-annual sale. It conditioned an entire demographic to hoard seasonal scents with the fervor of apocalypse preppers.
Right. I mean, let's unpack the absolute psychological grip that warm vanilla sugar had on the middle school experience. Plumeria, cucumber melon, sweet pea. We didn't know what a scent profile or a top note was. We just knew we desperately wanted to project the aura of a walking, hyper-sweetened fruit salad.
That specific brand single-handedly taught an entire generation that our emotional stability was directly, inextricably tied to having a 3-wick sweater weather candle burning the exact second November began. This artisanal candle-making class we attended was merely the logical millennial evolution of that exact childhood conditioning.
That is so true. We're just paying more money to mask our anxiety with wax. And speaking of childhood joys that we are dragging aggressively into adulthood, babes, we are currently eating Menchie's frozen yogurt right now while we record this.
We are.
And can we just say, frozen yogurt, deeply underrated. It is having a massive renaissance, and it is the joy of my life.
It is experiencing a cultural resurgence because it masterfully exploits the human desire for cognitive dissonance. It provides the thin, transparent illusion of health because the word yogurt implies probiotics, while actively allowing you to construct a bowl of pure, highly processed sugar.
Stop analyzing the probiotics and just enjoy the gummy worms.
But the true psychological evaluation of the frozen yogurt experience is not the yogurt itself. It's the toppings bar. How a person navigates a self-serve toppings bar reveals the absolute core of their character.
Oh, my bowl is pure, unhinged chaos, and I will not apologize for it. I have a base of cake batter froyo. I have topped it with neon gummy worms, a massive scoop of strawberry popping boba, crumbled cheesecake bites, and then I drown the entire structural integrity of the cup in hot fudge.
Your bowl is a culinary war crime. Let's break down the mechanics of what you've done. The gummy worms harden immediately upon contact with the freezing yogurt, creating a gelatinous, textural nightmare that threatens dental work.
It adds crunch.
No, it adds a choking hazard. Meanwhile, the boiling hot fudge actively melts the delicate base, turning the bottom half of your cup into lukewarm soup. It is a chaotic, deeply stressful collision of conflicting sugar profiles.
It is perfect. What is your boring, logical bowl, then?
My bowl is highly curated. A base of tart, original flavor, freshly sliced strawberries, a light, even dusting of graham cracker crumbs, and exactly 1 measured spoonful of dark chocolate chips.
That is so depressing.
It has balance, it has acidity to cut the sweetness, it has textural crunch. I am operating on a level of gastronomic logic, while you are essentially eating a child's birthday party that just detonated.
Oh, let me live in my sugar delusion. But wait, speaking of being out in public,
Right.
while we were at the froyo shop earlier, and also while we were sitting at that candle class, I noticed a phenomenon that we desperately need to debate right now.
Okay, present the evidence.
Babes, couples out in public, wearing matching outfits. I need your analytical brain on this. Is this iconic and cute? Or is it a massive screaming red flag?
We have to establish strict parameters before we can accurately judge this. Are we discussing accidental matching? The phenomenon where 2 people have cohabitated for so long that they have simply absorbed each other's aesthetic by osmosis and both absent-mindedly walk out of the house wearing navy fisherman sweaters and light-washed denim.
No, that's just sweet. That's assimilation. I mean, premeditated matching.
Premeditated.
Fully intentional. I saw a couple today wearing the exact same beige, heavy fleece matching sweatsuit, down to the exact same brand of crisp, white, chunky sneakers. At first glance, I was like, oh, cohesive, cute. But then I looked closer at their dead eyes, and they looked like they were recruiting for a wellness cult. When does it cross the line from iconic into absolute cringe?
It crosses into cringe the exact moment it looks like an act of territorial marking. Intentional matching, outside of a heavily themed costume party or a family photo you are forced to participate in at gunpoint, is deeply suspect.
Wait, territorial marking?
Yes. It screams of a desperate, clawing need to project an image of ironclad unity to the outside world. And psychologically speaking, an overwhelming need to perform unity usually masks a profound, rotting internal dysfunction. It is the sartorial equivalent of a couple having a joint Facebook account. It's a massive red flag.
Oh my God. Okay, I have a confession. We need to unpack this.
Oh.
I wanted to match with an ex once, and he completely, flat out refused.
I am already siding with the S.
Shut up and listen. I bought us these gorgeous, perfectly tailored, matching, embroidered vintage jackets for a weekend trip to the mountains. I handed it to him, and he looked at me like I just handed him a live, unpinned grenade. The absolute audacity of a man refusing to participate in a cute, aesthetic moment. I am literally still offended by it.
I am going to brutally analyze this situation, and you are going to hate every word I say. Your ex, in this highly specific scenario, was entirely logically correct.
Excuse me. Whose side are you on?
I am on the side of basic human autonomy. By forcing a man to wear a matching embroidered vintage jacket for the sole purpose of a vacation aesthetic, you are essentially attempting to dress him up like an adult toddler for your own gratification.
I was trying to be iconic.
He saw the red flag you were actively waving in his face. He logically opted out of the joint branding exercise. You wanted a living, breathing prop for an Instagram photo grid. He wanted to retain his individual dignity. He was asserting a healthy boundary against investment.
The betrayal I am feeling from across this table right now is staggering. You are logically defending a toxic man who hated fun and ruined my mountain aesthetic. I am unwell.
I am defending logic.
Whatever. Speaking of absolute toxic delusion, the desperate preservation of autonomy, and using candles to deal with massive spiraling interpersonal problems, babes, we urgently need to pivot and talk about what is happening on our screens this week.
Yes. The television landscape this week has provided us with an absolute, undeniable masterclass in human dysfunction. We are witnessing studio upheavals, the terrifying integration of AI slop into creative spaces, severe regression into adult baby behavior, and the triumphant return of the most toxic entities known to Hollywood.
I am vibrating with anxiety. Pour another glass of limeade, because we are starting with the main event, the comeback. Season 3, Episode 5, Valerie lights a candle. I was gasping for air. I was pacing my apartment. The absolute chaos of this episode.
Structurally, it was a masterpiece of anxiety.
Yes. We have to break down the immediate aftermath of Valerie's accidental voice note. Remember last week when Billy spitefully sent her unfiltered rant to the studio executives? Well, Brandon, the impossibly terrifying new net executive, actually pulled the trigger. He fired Josh and Mary. The showrunners are gone.
We need to deeply dissect how Brandon operates in this episode because Andrew Scott is delivering a chilling portrayal of quiet, corporate sociopathy.
He is terrifying.
Yeah.
He literally gives me nightmares.
Notice how he handles this studio upheaval. He doesn't raise his voice, he doesn't throw a tantrum, he just stands there in the middle of that cavernous, empty soundstage wearing an immaculate suit and delivers these life-ruining decrees with the casual tone of someone ordering a latte.
It is so chilling. And when Valerie frantically expresses concern about Josh and Mary speaking to the press or suing the network, Brendan's response is the most terrifying line of the season. He literally says, "We own their names, we own their silence, so it's all good."
That is unhinged CEO behavior. It is the exact language of a hostage taker, completely normalized within the framework of a Hollywood non-disclosure agreement.
He isn't managing a network, he is managing a cartel. And then it gets infinitely worse, because who does he install as the new showrunner? Marco. The woefully unqualified writer's assistant, who has absolutely zero business running a multi-million-dollar network sitcom. Valerie is visibly hyperventilating, and Brandon just smoothly manipulates her ego to keep her compliant. He tells her the pilot tested phenomenally well, and he explicitly thanks her for making, how's that, the least of Nunette's troubles.
It is a textbook manipulation tactic. He is actively appealing to her most desperate, deep-seated psychological need. The need to be loved, validated, and perceived as the good girl of the network who doesn't cause problems.
He strokes her ego to keep her terrified.
Exactly. He gives her the intoxicating illusion of power while simultaneously stripping the production of any actual competent human leadership because, let's face the reality, the real writer isn't even Marco. Marco is a figurehead.
No. The show is completely 100% being written by Al AI, an artificial intelligence algorithm that is blatantly scraping and stealing jokes. And Brandon explicitly, threateningly tells Valerie she is barred from revealing this to the cast. She is forced to carry the secret.
Which directly leads to the most passive-aggressive, deeply hilarious, iconic scene of the entire season. The candle diplomacy.
I was literally pausing my television just to read the aggressive labels on these jars. Valerie is desperately trying to control her cast. She needs to keep them calm about the sudden firing of their bosses. And she decides the most effective management tool is gifting them highly targeted, inspirational candles.
It was a tactical, psychological strike, thinly disguised as a thoughtful gift basket. It is the exact same mechanism as a Real Housewife handing a frenemy a peace offering that is actually a massive, deeply personal insult wrapped up in a bow. She is weaponizing wax to establish dominance.
My absolute favorite moment of the entire sequence, she confidently hands Billy a candle labeled Focus.
Brilliant.
Billy, the man whose cell phone is notoriously said to do not disturb at 10 a.m. on a workday, the man who can barely remember his marks. And when he gets instantly, visibly offended by the implication, she doesn't back down or apologize. She just reaches right back into her giant tote bag and offers him a relaxed candle instead.
The sheer calculated shade. Let us run through the complete, magnificent inventory of her passive aggression.
Please do.
Jane, the stoic documentary director who expects the worst, receives not the end of the world. Marco, who is sweating through his shirt and wildly out of his depth as showrunner, receives success. Frank, who is constantly seeking external validation, gets self-love.
The Frank one was so pointed.
And my personal favorite target, patience. A woman who invents a brand new, highly specific medical malady every single day to avoid performing her contractual duties is gifted a candle aggressively titled Strength. It's a masterstroke of interpersonal warfare.
I was cackling every single time Patience listed a new fake ailment. But wait, did you catch the brilliant visual gag when Valerie finally tried to light her own tranquility candle?
The match.
Yes. It smoked so aggressively. It completely engulfed her face in a thick black cloud of toxic smoke for a candle that was literally meant to bring peace. It was a perfect visual metaphor for her entire existence right now.
A brilliant, subtle directorial choice. Because the promised tranquility lasted exactly 0 seconds. The narrative immediately pivots to the rehearsal for the bed and breakfast scene, where we are formally introduced to the ASMR whispering roommates.
I physically could not handle this scene. I wanted to crawl out of my skin.
Marco, drunk on his unearned power, decides to bypass the casting department entirely and hires his own actual roommates.
Philip and Cupie. Which, by the way, Cupie is a terrifying name for a grown adult.
To play these angry bed and breakfast guests, and for absolutely no justifiable reason, they decide to whisper all of their lines.
Listen, lady, I don't know how much louder I can say this, but it is delivered in a breathless ASMR sleep video whisper. I was crying laughing at Valerie's face. You could see her brain actively short-circuiting, trying to understand their acting choices.
It is an acutely painful observation of the current generational divide occurring on television sets. Brian, the veteran director, patiently tries to give them standard technical notes. He asks them to project, to hit the back of the room, to simply stop whispering.
And what do?
They look at him with blank, unbothered expressions, simply reply, "Thank you," and then proceed to do the exact same whisper on the next take. They are entirely impervious to direction. Valerie eventually retreats to craft services and complains to Frank, delivering that deeply boomer-coded yet entirely accurate line, "That whole generation thinks they've got this."
They have absolutely no foundational training or idea what they are doing, but they possess an impenetrable armor of unearned confidence. It is infuriating.
And it all traces back to the absolute spiraling mess of Marco. He is crumbling under the weight of the job. He forces the AI to generate alternate jokes for a simple transition scene, and the machine spits out between 39 to 53 pages of alternate jokes.
For a basic multicam sitcom, 53 pages. PDP is having a complete vein-popping meltdown on the sidelines. He throws a massive tantrum because his lines are being algorithmically cut down, screaming that he desperately needs this to be his breakout role, and he's almost 40 years old. The raw, unfiltered desperation is bleeding through the screen.
The 53 pages of AI slop is the true horror story of the episode. It illustrates the fundamental flaw of generative writing models. Valerie rightfully points out, no human could write that fast. It's suspicious.
Because it's a robot.
Exactly. The AI possesses a massive database of vocabulary, but it has zero concept of comedic pacing, character voice, or human rhythm. It cannot understand the math of a joke. It is just vomiting predictive text. And Marco, who is deeply threatened by Evan the tech guy,
played by Lisa Kudrow's real-life son, Julian, which is iconic metacasting.
Marco refuses to let the human actors highlight the actual good jokes out of fear that it will expose the machine's incompetence.
Which forces the climax of the set tension and leads to the ultimate boss move. Sharon.
The exhausted casting director who has been pushed to the absolute brink of her sanity.
Valerie essentially corners her and forces her to fire the whispering roommates because Marco is too cowardly to do it himself. And we don't even see the firing directly. We just hear Sharon in the background of the soundstage loudly terminating them.
She is literally screaming, "It's the Stars show," and she doesn't think you're funny.
All while she is actively bleeding. She tripped over a cable, she has a massive gash on her leg, she is holding a bloody tissue, and she is still executing the firing with ruthless efficiency. Sharon is a hero.
Sharon is the unsung, tragic hero of the modern Hollywood ecosystem. She is forced to execute Valerie's dirty work, absorbing all the collateral damage and hatred of being perceived as the corporate villain, which is precisely the insulated position Valerie has engineered for herself.
She wants the power, but none of the blood. But speaking of blood on hands, babes, I need to talk about her husband. I need to talk about Mark.
Here we go.
I am furious. I am livid at Mark. He's having a full-blown, cliché, embarrassing midlife crisis. He's hanging out with Fernando the doorman again. Why are they best friends? And then, out of absolutely nowhere, Mark announces that he and Fernando are packing up and going to Burning Man. Without Valerie.
Let us analyze Mark's behavior from a strictly logical, detached perspective. The internet fan theories are currently running wild, trying to decode this relationship. Is Mark engaged in a clandestine, emotional, or physical affair with the building's doorman?
Wait, do you actually think that?
Why else is Fernando, a peripheral service worker in their building, suddenly occupying so much screen time and emotional real estate in Mark's life? Or, the alternative theory, is Mark simply hurtling toward a total catastrophic nervous breakdown induced by aging and irrelevance?
I don't even think it's that deep. I think he is just being a fundamentally toxic, unsupportive partner. Valerie's actively drowning at work. She is fighting executives. She is fighting a literal robot trying to steal her career. And her husband is in the living room packing a dusty backpack and desert goggles with the guy who opens their lobby doors. It is so childish.
It is an infantile regression, certainly.
And when Valerie gently suggests that maybe running off to the desert isn't a smart decision right now, he snaps. He points at the television set and screams, "You're going to tell me about smart. Look who you got here."
Which is incredibly rude.
So rude. But it also perfectly transitions us to the most dramatic, chilling moment of the entire episode. The inevitable return of the monster.
Paulie G.
I paused my television. I had to physically stand up and walk around my kitchen island. I was shaking. Valerie is so desperate to fix the broken AI scripts that she actively calls in Paulie G.
Against all rational advice?
Yes. Jane, our stoic, objective documentary queen, literally corners Valerie, looks her dead in the eye, and explicitly warns her, "This is the worst decision that you can make. He will sink this ship." It is a crystal clear warning, and Valerie ignores her and does it anyway.
Jane represents the absolute voice of reason, the audience surrogate screaming at the protagonist not to go into the basement. But we must evaluate Paulie's arrival analytically, separating his horrible personality from his function.
Do we have to?
We do. He steps onto that chaotic set, and within 3 minutes, he perfectly surgically diagnoses the structural flaw in the AI script. He reads the scene and points out that the audience fundamentally hates seeing a man being unnecessarily mean to a woman they like.
It is the most meta, deeply ironic line of dialogue in the entire history of the series. Considering Paulie's extensive history of vicious, relentless verbal abuse toward Valerie, he is describing his own fatal flaw to fix a robot's flaw.
Exactly. And then the manipulation begins. He tries to offer her an apology. He blames his past horrific behavior, his addiction, his cruelty, entirely on the pressure of the reality show cameras from 20 years ago.
Such a cop-out.
He looks at Valerie and says he thought reality TV was the monster coming for them, but now AI is here and it's, quote, fucking scary. And Valerie, because she is deeply broken, because she desperately wants to see the good in her abusers to justify the trauma she endured, actually starts defending him to the crew.
Frank even asks her point blank, "Why am I always defending people who don't have my best interest?" Valerie, listen to Frank. Take notes.
But the apology is nothing more than a strategic Trojan horse. Because watch what happens the exact moment Paulie feels secure. The moment he realizes he holds value, that he is the only one who can fix the 53 pages of AI slop, his flagrant, deeply ingrained misogyny immediately resurfaces.
He fixes the joke and then dismisses Valerie with a cold, dead-eyed look, telling her to make yourself useful. I gasped.
He hasn't experienced a profound moral awakening. He is simply terrified of being replaced by technology, but he immediately weaponizes that fear by reverting to his default state of exerting cruelty and control over women. He is the exact same monster.
I was screaming at the television. It is the literal, clinical definition of a trauma bond. She's inviting the demon back into her house, unlocking the door for him because she needs him to fight the robot outside. It is so dark. How can she trust him?
She doesn't trust him. And that is the tragedy. She knows exactly what she's doing.
What do you mean?
She tells Jane in a quiet moment, nothing more dangerous than a scared animal. That's when they bite. She is fully, completely aware that Paulie is a scared animal. She knows he is going to bite her. She has mathematically calculated the risk and decided that the survival of the television show is worth the inevitable emotional lacerations he will inflict upon her.
Oh, my.
It is a bleak, devastating portrait of what industry desperation does to the human soul.
I need to take a massive sip of this spiked limeade just thinking about it. My chest is tight. But the absolute mess on our screens does not stop there. Babes, we are grabbing the remote. We are channel surfing. Yeah. We are pivoting away from NewNet and heading straight into Euphoria because the delusion is a virus spreading across networks. We have to talk about Cassie's adult baby era. I literally cannot handle the cringe. I was watching through my fingers.
The episode leans incredibly heavily into nostalgic visual aesthetics, but ultimately delivers profound, stomach-churning, secondhand embarrassment. Let us examine the mechanics of Cassie's desperate foray into the OnlyFans creator economy.
Cassie is doing adult baby fetish photo shoots. She is intentionally dripping melted ice cream all over her breasts, wearing frilly baby clothes and pacifiers, but that isn't even the worst part.
No, the collateral damage is the worst part.
She is forcing her family's housekeeper, Juana, to hold the camera and take the photos. In the front yard, in broad daylight, in a suburban neighborhood.
The logistical absurdity of forcing your underpaid domestic employee to photograph your highly specific NSFW fetish content in an exposed suburban environment is staggering. It highlights a complete collapse of boundaries and social awareness.
It is so messed up.
But what is truly pathetic, what really twists the knife in the narrative, is the metric of her success. After debasing herself and traumatizing Juana, she checks her phone to view her engagement metrics. 213 likes in 18 hours.
213. That is a failed tweet, not a career.
It highlights the absolute devastation of seeking validation through performative hypersexualized degradation, only to be met with the cold, unfeeling indifference of the algorithm. She sold her dignity for a fraction of a % of engagement.
And because her pivot to content creation is failing, she is reduced to begging Maddie for help. Maddie, the girl she betrayed.
The irony is palpable.
Maddie, who survived the absolute trauma of high school and is now actually out in the real world hustling. She is working at a talent agency, trying to financially support her mother after their family salon was forced to close during the pandemic. Maddie is out here grinding, and Cassie's literally playing dress-up on the front lawn.
And then there is the architect of so much of this misery, Nate. He is the ultimate orchestrator of financial and emotional ruin. When he discovers Cassie's account, he doesn't approach it with empathy. He forces her to violently delete the entire account to save face at his upcoming investor party.
While completely ignoring his own mess.
Precisely. He is expertly concealing the fact that he is currently $600,000 in debt. He is projecting this immaculate, untouchable image of wealthy American prosperity to these investors, while his entire empire is built on fraudulent sand.
He spends the episode aggressively yelling at his father, Cal, judging him for his hedonism, while Nate is actively committing massive financial fraud just to keep his failing business afloat. It is the pinnacle of delusion.
It is pathological narcissism.
The toxic masculinity is literally jumping out of the screen.
Yeah.
But speaking of trash men who refuse to take accountability, babes, let's flip the channel over to Rooster. Archie. I demand immediate, swift justice for Katie.
Archie is currently executing a flawless textbook campaign of narcissistic love bombing. He is gleefully, recklessly stringing along two vulnerable women simultaneously.
He is a menace. He is promising his estranged wife, Katie, her favorite, highly specific lattes and warm croissants every single morning, desperately trying to woo her back into the marriage.
While simultaneously, on the exact same day, going to his pregnant graduate student Sunny's OBGYN appointments.
And trying to bro out and bond with Sunny's dad, Fred. And by the way, Jim O'Hare showing up to play Fred.
Yeah.
Incredible casting. But Archie is a monster. He thinks he can juggle both lives without consequences.
He is driven entirely by his own gaping insecurity and a pathological, deep-seated fear of rejection. He fundamentally requires constant validation from all available sources to regulate his self-esteem. Notice how quickly his priorities shift.
Oh, instantly.
He completely abandons his grand romantic croissant plan with Katie the exact moment the ultrasound machine makes him feel a fleeting flicker of genuine biological emotion regarding the baby. He instantly discards Katie, leaving her completely stranded emotionally.
The episode ends with Katie standing there, heartbroken, watching him walk away and receiving a pathetic, sad little wave from Archie from across the campus quad.
Yeah.
The sad wave. I wanted to throw my froyo bowl directly at the television screen.
It was cowardice manifested physically.
Katie deserves so much better than being an option for a man who wears tweed patches on his elbows. She actively gathers herself, straightens her posture, and struts into her lecture hall to teach her class, but you can see the emotional damage is done.
Archie is a walking, talking red flag disguised as a quirky academic. But while Archie violently fumbles his personal life, we must acknowledge that Dylan is rapidly ascending professionally. She is aggressively stepping up to maneuver the dean of faculty job away from Riggs.
Riggs is the worst. He is the ultimate caricature of entrenched academic misogyny. He is a dinosaur who tells brilliant female professors they are, quote, top-heavy in a good way, and rigidly refuses to let a grieving student reschedule a midterm exam after a grandparent's death.
He represents the institutional rot. Dylan actually possesses empathy and cares about the student's well-being. It is a desperately necessary course correction for the university hierarchy.
Yes. Finally, a competent woman taking charge and clearing out the dead wood. But speaking of women who are completely, totally losing their minds, let's check in on the Audacity. Because Joanne is fully, spectacularly unraveling this week.
The episode provides a masterful, claustrophobic depiction of self-induced psychological torture. Joanne is finally experiencing the catastrophic, crushing consequences of her own illegal insider trading actions. The paranoia is consuming her.
She is literally tearing her beautifully decorated office apart. She is ripping down the drywall looking for hidden microphones because she is absolutely fundamentally convinced that Duncan Park, a billionaire tech CEO, personally broke into her house to bug her.
The delusion of grandeur is staggering.
She is so deep in her own paranoia that she drives to a sporting goods store, ominously called Chekhov's, to buy a handgun. A gun.
She is a therapist.
The symbolism of naming the gun store Chekhov's is admittedly heavy-handed, but it is narratively effective. A gun introduced in the first act of the season must inevitably fire by the third.
But the true resonant thesis of the episode is spoken by Joanne herself in a moment of clarity. Information is not insight. These massive tech billionaires, Duncan Park included, possess vast, unfathomable amounts of data, algorithms, and surveillance capabilities, but they completely lack basic human intuition and emotional intelligence. They have data, but no wisdom.
They are glitching. The billionaires are acting like broken lines of code in their own programming. Joanne is so desperate she is lying to her bank teller, Pat, trying to retroactively wipe out her illegal stock purchases, and she is using her sacred doctor-patient confidentiality as a shield to justify her fraud.
They are all taking their massive illegal tax bracket problems and making them everybody else's problems. It is a total unmitigated crash out across the board.
Which organically leads us to segment 1. Babes, we need to evaluate the broader trajectories of these characters, come back or crash out. If we look at the overarching PR war of these narratives, who is actually manifesting a comeback and who is currently spiraling directly into the Earth's crust?
Let's analyze the comebacks first. Who is successfully rehabilitating their narrative?
I am going to nominate Maddie from Euphoria as the ultimate, undisputed comeback queen. She survived the absolute psychological warfare of high school. She survived the Nate Jacobs era of terror. And where is she now? She is wearing gorgeous vintage fur coats to poolside business meetings. She is aggressively hustling at a high-end talent agency.
She has effectively monetized her trauma and survival instincts into a lucrative career path. It is highly adaptive behavior. I agree with that assessment.
Thank you. She is not relying on a toxic man to save her. She is saving herself. That is pure, unadulterated comeback energy. We love to see a thriving queen.
I would also commit Paulie G for the comeback category, but with a massive, glaring asterisk.
Oh, absolutely not. I reject this entirely.
Let me finish. From a purely functional, industry standard standpoint, he is making a comeback. He went from being entirely unemployable, sitting isolated in a coffee shop writing spec scripts no one wanted, to stepping onto a multi-million-dollar soundstage and instantly diagnosing an unfilmable AI script that Marco couldn't fix. He demonstrated undeniable immediate value to the studio.
Okay, fine, but at what cost?
That is the caveat. Is achieving a professional comeback worth the cost of a total moral crash out? He is regaining his career solely by reverting to his most abusive, misogynistic tendencies.
I physically hate that you are right about Paulie. Professionally, he is back, but spiritually, he is completely bankrupt. It is so gross. I also think Dylan from Rooster is a massive comeback. She is usurping the incompetent dinosaur patriarchy represented by Riggs. She isn't just complaining about the system, she is actively maneuvering to seize systemic power and change it from the inside.
A valid assessment. Now let's talk about the spirals, the crash outs. Who is absolutely losing the plot this week?
Mark from The Comeback. He is the definitive representation of a midlife crash out. He is publicly screaming at his wife on her workplace set, actively abandoning his marital support structure when she is most vulnerable, and packing his bags for a hedonistic, cliché desert festival with the building's doorman.
It is an infantile regression masquerading as spiritual self-discovery. He is completely crashing out of his adult responsibilities.
Absolutely. And Joanne from the Audacity.
Yes.
Listen, when you are lying to your local bank teller and purchasing firearms because you genuinely believe a Silicon Valley CEO is bugging your therapy office, you are no longer in control of the narrative. You have fully crashed out into tinfoil hat territory.
Her cognitive dissonance has breached critical mass, yes.
But I have a controversial take. I need you to hear me out on this one. I think Valerie Cherish is crashing out.
I vehemently, fundamentally disagree with that assessment.
Let me make my case. Look at her actions. She is actively inviting Paulie G, her abuser, back into her life. She is handing out passive-aggressive strength candles to cover up the fact that a soulless robot is writing her television show. She is spiraling.
She is managing.
She is making desperate deals with the devil because she is terrified of losing relevance. Building your power on a toxic trauma bond is building a house of cards. That is a crash-out mentality.
Your emotional bias regarding Paulie G is clouding your structural analysis of Valerie's position. Valerie is actually entering her definitive, most powerful comeback era to date. Think about the entire history of this character. For the first time in the entire series, she possesses actual tangible leverage. Yes, her methods are incredibly messy. Yes, she is resorting to wax-based psychological warfare to manage her actors. But look at the results.
The results are chaos.
No, the results are control. She effectively fired the incompetent showrunners by weaponizing Billy's voice note. She orchestrated the firing of the whispering, untalented actors by using Sharon as human shield. She recognized that the AI was failing to deliver comedic pacing, and she independently sourced a solution by hiring Paulie, completely bypassing Marco's authority. She is finally pulling the strings rather than being the puppet dangled by them. It is chaotic, Machiavellian management, but it is management.
Okay, fine. I will concede that she is a messy, Machiavellian puppet master. She has the power, even if it makes my stomach turn.
Which brings us to segment 2. Main character energy. Let's shift from analyzing their success to analyzing their aura. Who is demanding the camera's attention right now? Who is owning the moment?
Jane. Jane from The Comeback.
Yes. Jane delivered the coldest, realest, most devastating line of the entire week. When Valerie is frantically trying to justify bringing the monster back to set, and she looks at Jane and says, "He won me an Emmy," trying to excuse the abuse for the sake of the award.
And Jane doesn't even blink. She doesn't raise her voice. She just claps back immediately. "You won you an Emmy." Chills. Literal goosebumps. Absolute main character behavior. She sees entirely through Valerie's delusion and speaks the pure, unvarnished truth.
Jane's documentary objectivity makes her the only truly reliable narrator in that entire cinematic universe. She refuses to participate in the collective delusion. I will also nominate Sharon, the casting director, for owning the moment.
Oh, Sharon is a legend.
Tripping over a heavy table, actively bleeding from a physical leg injury, clutching a bloody tissue, and still possessing the absolute fortitude to loudly scream at Marco's whispering roommates that they are fundamentally unfunny and fired. That is a breathtaking commitment to the job. That is a woman seizing total control of a chaotic narrative while physically wounded.
Sharon is an absolute icon of the working class in Hollywood. Give her a raise. But who is fading out? Who is giving us pure NPC, non-playable character energy this week?
Archie from Rooster.
Yes, the sad wave.
He genuinely believes he is the charismatic, romantic lead orchestrating a complex, sophisticated love triangle. In reality, he is a peripheral, pathetic annoyance to everyone around him. He fails to commit to either woman, violently fumbles the love-bombing execution, and is ultimately reduced to offering a pathetic, sad little wave from a distance as Katie walks away to actually live a fulfilling life without him. He is an NPC in his own manufactured tweed jacket drama.
Sad wave energy is the ultimate NPC behavior. You love to see a narcissist reduced to a wave. And Marco, Marco from The Comeback. He is drowning in real time. He was promoted so far past his competence level that he can't even breathe.
He's terrified of Evan the tech guy. He's relying on a computer program that steals jokes from Mama's family. He is physically shrinking into the background of his own promotion. He is fading out rapidly.
Which brings us to segment 3, most delusional decision. We're identifying the absolute worst, most unhinged choices made across all these shows this week. Let's call them out. Break it down.
We have some incredibly heavy hitters this week.
Nominee number 1. Cassie's OnlyFans photo shoot on Euphoria. I cannot emphasize the delusion of this enough. Making your family's housekeeper stand in the front yard in the sun to take NSFW adult baby photos of you dripping ice cream on yourself. The secondhand embarrassment is physically painful. It is a level of narcissism and delusion that operates on a cellular level.
A remarkably strong contender. The complete lack of spatial, social, and class awareness is staggering. Nominee number 2, Marco's casting decisions on The Comeback. Willingly casting your own amateur roommates for a multi-million-dollar network sitcom.
Like whisper acting.
Allowing them to engage in whisper ASMR acting on a soundstage and flat out refusing to cut 53 pages of mathematically broken AI-generated jokes simply because, quote, that generation thinks they've got this. It is egregious managerial malpractice rooted in pure, unadulterated delusion.
But the winner, the absolute crown jewel of delusion this week, we both know what it is.
Valerie rehiring Paulie G.
Yes. It is undeniably the worst decision made by any human on television. Call it out.
Let us break this down scientifically. It is the textbook clinical definition of a trauma bond overriding rational thought. She is willingly, consciously inviting the known monster back into the house because she is terrified of the unknown variable, the AI algorithm.
She literally says it. Nothing more dangerous than a scared animal. That's when they bite. She recognizes the threat.
But she knows he is going to bite her. He has a heavily documented, televised history of biting her, and she unlocks the cage anyway.
It is so incredibly tragic. She is consciously choosing the devil she knows over the robot she doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And the ultimate delusion is that she genuinely thinks she can control him this time just because she holds an executive producer title. Delusional.
He literally looked at her dead in the eye and told her to make herself useful the exact second he felt comfortable on set.
He is going to systematically destroy her mental health all over again, and she paid him to do it.
She is attempting to domesticate a rabid dog by waving a self-love candle in its face. The delusion is profound, systemic, and ultimately tragic.
Which perfectly sets up segment 4. Who would survive a real comeback? Babes, if all the safety nets were completely removed, if the studio money completely dried up, the algorithm crashed, and it was just based on pure human grit. Who has the staying power to actually survive a real comeback in this industry?
Who actually possesses staying power? I will argue, despite her profound delusions and reliance on wax-based warfare, Valerie Cherish.
The ultimate survivor.
As I stated earlier, she is a cockroach, and I mean that in the most complimentary, evolutionary way possible. She possesses an indestructible cellular baseline of resilience. She will survive the new net AI algorithm. She will survive Paulie G's inevitable psychological abuse.
And if the entire television show implodes and the studio burns to the ground,
she will simply put on her matching velour tracksuit, go back to the coffee bean, buy a blended drink, and start completely over. She cannot be eradicated from the ecosystem.
She is a survivor. We have to stand a resilient queen who refuses to quit. I also firmly believe Evan the tech guy has staying power. Think about it. He saw exactly where the industry wind was blowing.
He realized traditional screenwriting was dying.
So he didn't complain. He quit his job, pivoted, and learned to code. He understands exactly how to manipulate the AI without letting it completely ruin the human element to the show. He adapted to the new reality. Also, of course, he's surviving. He looks exactly like Lisa Kudrow's real-life son. He has those nepotism baby survival skills baked into his DNA. We love it.
Adaptability is the ultimate evolutionary advantage in any collapsing ecosystem. Evan adapted, therefore he survives. Now, who does not survive? Who goes entirely extinct when the asteroid hits?
Nate from Euphoria. You absolutely cannot charm your way out of $600,000 in compounding debt.
Math always wins.
You cannot stand in a perfectly tailored suit, aggressively yelling at your dad about the evils of hedonism, while the bank is literally preparing to repossess your entire life. His entire existence is a fragile house of cards built entirely on toxic masculinity and financial fraud. The second the wind actually blows, he is done. He has zero actual staying power without his dad's money.
Financial gravity will inevitably, mercilessly crush him. My submission for total extinction is Paulie G. He fundamentally, stubbornly refuses to adapt to the changing world.
Because he's a dinosaur.
He is deeply terrified of technology, but instead of learning how to integrate with it like Evan did, he uses his fear as a heavy shield and a convenient excuse to be unimaginably cruel to the women around him. He is a dinosaur standing knee-deep in the swamp, yelling at the sky, waiting for the meteor to strike. His extinction is not only imminent, it is necessary for the ecosystem to heal.
A dinosaur waiting for the meteor.
Yeah.
Poetic, accurate, and devastating. Wow. Babes, we have unpacked so much trauma today. We have traversed the absolute darkest corners of reality TV delusion and scripted nervous breakdowns. I genuinely need a nap and a fresh mimosa.
We have successfully processed the chaos and extracted the narrative insights.
Let's wrap this up. We survived the Pinterest aesthetic gone wrong candle class this weekend. Honestly, considering everything we just discussed, maybe we need to invent and market our own tranquility candle, but one that is actively designed to smoke aggressively, just like Valerie's, to warn people of our incoming moods.
I will draft the patent for the formula immediately.
We also need to give one final shout-out to the Menchie's frozen yogurt joy that chemically powered this entire recap. Gummy worms and hot fudge forever. I will not apologize for my textural nightmares. And babes, we must never, ever forget the trauma of the ex who refused to wear a matching vintage outfit and broke my heart for the sake of his so-called autonomy.
He made the correct, logically sound choice to protect his identity.
Stop defending him. Okay, Snark Squad, we need to hear from you. It is officially your turn to weigh in on the delusion. We need you in the comments and our DMs. Everywhere, we are asking you, are matching outfits cute or are they a massive cringe red flag? Please validate my feelings and tell my co-host they are wrong about my vintage jackets.
They will not validate you because the math does not support your position. Second question for the audience. What is your go-to frozen yogurt combination? Please provide logical, balanced flavor profiles, not the sugar-induced panic attacks we witnessed earlier.
Ignore that. Put popping boba on literally everything. And babes, finally, the most important question for you. What would your comeback look like if you completely crashed out tomorrow, lost everything, and had to start over?
Yeah.
How are you rising from the ashes? Tell us your strategy.
But before we officially depart, I am going to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought. A theory currently circulating in the deepest corners of the internet that should genuinely terrify anyone who consumes media.
Oh gosh, I'm scared.
Consider the current trajectory of NewNet as a corporate entity. They fired the competent writers. They promoted an incompetent, pliable assistant. They are actively using an algorithm to generate 53 pages of scripts.
What is the logical, terrifying next step?
What are they going to do? They are going to purchase Jane's extensive behind-the-scenes documentary footage. They will feed thousands of hours of Valerie Cherish's face, voice, and physical mannerisms into Al, and they will completely 100% AI generate season 4 of How's That, without a single human actor, writer, or crew member ever stepping foot on a soundstage.
No. Stop it. I literally have goosebumps on my arms. That is so dark.
Are we actually just watching the death of human television playing out in real time under the guise of a sitcom? Let that keep you up at night, babes.
That is literally the plot of a horror movie. I am staking. Okay, Snark Squad. Before I spiral into a full existential crisis about robots taking over Bravo and generating fake housewives, remind yourselves to rate, review, subscribe, send us your messy submissions, send this to your most chaotic friend who desperately needs to hear that their ex who refuses to match is also a walking red flag.
Thank you for joining the analysis today. We deeply appreciate your continued dedication to dissecting the mess.
We love you, Snark Squad. Stay shady, stay iconic, and we'll see you on the Snark side.